We've all heard stories of the Mandalorian bounty hunter and a child.
I only hunt Imperial war criminals. I'll take out every bad guy in your deck of cards.
This isn't about revenge. It's about preventing another war.
Before going into harm's way, check your armor first.
We're protecting everything the rebellion fought for.
Good luck. You're gonna need it.
Hey!
Oh, the horrible baby. It's a bad baby.
Strap in.
We need a professional.
Hang on.
What happens when you're not there to protect him?
You good? I'll be right behind you. Go! Go!
Mandalorian, you will suffer. Then it will be his turn.
Monsters. The old protect the young. And then the young. Protect the old. It's time.
Are you scared? You should be.
Good job, baby.
This is the way.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. The Mandalorian and Grogu dropped a brand new trailer at CinemaCon. There's a ton of new footage, ton of Easter eggs, so we will break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. This is all part of Disney's larger CinemaCon presentation, which included their Marvel Avengers Endgame panel. I've already done a video for that trailer, so I'll link it at the end of this too. They also screened the first 18 minutes of the movie, so I'll talk about that after I talk about the trailer footage. But they opened the trailer with Sigourney Weaver's Colonel Ward character at a Delphi base talking about the Mandalorian as a bounty hunter, like we've all heard the legends of how amazing you are as a bounty hunter. She's meant to be the commander of a Delphi base that we're not meeting until the events of The Mandalorian and Grogu. So like she's the commander during the events of The Mandalorian Season 3 when he starts working for them, pulling bounties. This is basically what he's been doing on the regular since the events of Season 3. When he makes a reference to taking out everyone in her deck of cards during the trailer, that's both a reference to the Star Wars trading card game. There are many different versions of the Star Wars trading card game. They usually refresh it every couple of years. But it's also a reference to the real-life war in Iraq and Afghanistan in the early 2000s, where the military would actually create playing cards with the names of Taliban members that they wanted to take out and use those to track different people. So part of the idea is that the New Republic, Colonel Ward's character here, is doing the same thing, but with members of the Shadow Council. So the idea is that there are two different members of the Shadow Council that Mando goes after in this trailer. The second one we actually saw in some of the preview footage, but they are both meant to be members of the Imperial Remnant Shadow Council that we saw during The Mandalorian Season 3 in that meeting with Moff Gideon. All the footage of him on the snow planet early in the trailer is him going after one of the warlords. They never gave him a name during The Mandalorian Season 3. He's just credited as a warlord, the one with the beard. This was also from that opening 18-minute sequence. The movie starts with him on the snow planet. The actual main plot of the movie involves him going after the second Imperial warlord that we see in the fighting pit here, played by Wayne Coyne. His name is going to be Lord Janu during the movie. Dave Filoni gave him a name for this movie just because he's a bigger villain in this movie. The Iktachi sitting next to him is named Hog's Breath, played by Matthew Willig. And you notice they're in the fighting pit. This is also where Mando has to fight the characters from the Djarik board, and where Rada the Hutt is also fighting in the pit. It seems like this is happening on Nal Hutta, the Hutt homeworld. You really feel for Grogu here. He's trapped in the bird cage, not sure what kind of bird is sitting on top of it.
Said seagulls gonna come, poke me in the coconut, and they did.
But the idea is the main plot of the movie is meant to pick up when he comes back to a Delphi base, and Colonel Ward, Sigourney Weaver's character, dresses him down for killing the previous Imperial warlord. Like, you weren't supposed to kill him. We need an informant that can tell us about the rest of the Shadow Council's movements and what's happening with Thrawn. So the next big mission that she gives him here when Grogu is trying to steal the snacks and she stops him is to learn the secret identity of this other Imperial warlord, Lord Janu, played by Wayne Coyne, that we see in the footage here. But in order to do that, he needs to go to the Hutt twins who can help him, but they task him with saving Rada the Hutt. It is not clear why he is trapped inside the fighting pit here, but it seems like he enjoys being in the fighting pit because you actually see him on the marquee here in the background. I'm not sure what this Arabesh reads, but there are a couple Easter eggs in the Arabesh in the background. Usually that's the way it goes in Star Wars productions. Anytime there's Arabesh, they usually work in Easter eggs if you can translate the Arabesh writing. When everybody is escaping from the fighting pit and the Dejarik creatures chase them through the streets like their big chase scene here, the Arabesh title here above the door reads Weathers Apollo, which is an homage to Carl Weathers' Rocky boxing matches because he passed away before the movie happened. Had he not passed away, he would have probably been in the movie too. We get a lot more footage of Grogu in the swamp here meditating. It's very Yoda-coded because Yoda's species loves swamps. That is their natural habitat, which is kind of why Yoda enjoyed being on Dagobah, even though it was exile for him. The whole idea with this opening 18 minutes of the movie on the snow planet here, with him mowing through all these different Imperials and going after this particular warlord, this meeting is him trying to turn other systems to the Imperial Remnant. They also explain that the Imperial Remnant has been raiding supply lines throughout the galaxy. So this is how they're getting extra weapons, extra materials, extra money. All these different scenes of the snowtroopers with him mowing through the AT-ATs in their different base here are all from this opening 18 minutes, and it's meant to be a little bit like a Daredevil one-take hallway scene. Mando basically mows through them in the opening 18 minutes. We get that real brief shot of Grogu sniffling, looks like he's getting a little bit of sick. I don't think that we've ever actually seen Grogu legitimately get sick and actually need a doctor. Speaking of which, thank you to ZocDoc for sponsoring this video. I know I'm supposed to be invincible and post videos every single day no matter what, but no surprise there were a couple times in the last few years when I got so sick that I could not force myself to speak. I don't know if it was kryptonite poisoning, but I actually felt like I was going to die a couple times. I finally had to cave and find a new doctor, but since moving to a new area, it was an absolute nightmare trying to find the right doctor to see based on my healthcare plan. It was almost worse than actually being sick. Figuring everything out sucked until I learned about ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click instantly to book an appointment. Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or one of the other 150-plus specialties offered on ZocDoc, you can easily search by specialty or symptom to build the healthcare team that's right for you. ZocDoc makes it easy to book an in-network appointment with more than 150,000 providers across 50 states. ZocDoc also helps you get appointments really fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking, and you can even score same-day appointments sometimes. No need to call a doctor's office. ZocDoc lets you do everything online. So if you're like me and you typically wait till you're about to die to go see the doctor, stop waiting, stop guessing, and go get yourself the care that you need. Go to my link here, I'll put it up on screen and down in the description below, ZocDoc.com/emergencyawesome to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/emergencyawesome. Don't just get yourself help, get yourself the right help, and thank you to ZocDoc for sponsoring this. We get another quick scene of Embo from the Clone Wars episodes. This is his first time in live action. The other Easter egg here is that he was voiced by Dave Filoni, so this is Dave Filoni popping up inside live action Star Wars again. Like every once in a while, you'll see them in the background. Dave Filoni plays Trapper Wolf, the actual pilot, but Embo worked for a number of different entities, like he worked for both the Hutts, he worked for the Empire later. It's not totally clear who he's working for in the trailer, but he seems like he comes after Mando. Maybe he's working for the other Imperial warlord, Lord Janu, that he's looking for in the movie. That Mando is looking for in the movie. We get another Clone Wars Easter egg. When he goes to see the Hutt twins here in their little cave, it seems like some of these are repurposed battle droids. When Colonel Ward talks about preventing another war, the idea is that they're trying to stamp out the Shadow Council to prevent Thrawn from coming back. We get a whole bunch of their X-Wings. These also seem like they're from a Delphi base. Maybe there will be some other familiar bases. We've seen some of the pilots. They were also big Easter eggs themselves too, played by most of the directors, including Dave Filoni himself too. We do know that Zeb is back during this in a really big way. We get a couple moments with him armoring Grogu up. Grogu is learning to be a bounty hunter like Mando, like father, like son, and he does have a little bit of Mandalorian armor. We We get a couple shots of this U-Wing landing at a Delphi base. It's actually piloted by Zeb, and it's actually him picking Mando up on the snow planet as they escape from the AT-ATs, blowing everything up and killing that first bearded Imperial warlord. We get a real quick shot of the Anzellans coming out of their tiny little spaceship. There's also shots of Grogu flying with them in this ship because he's about the right size, walking out of it as well too, just making it look like it's massive by comparison, when in reality it's this tiny little ship. Then they explain where he gets the new Razor Crest from, so it's actually given to him as a gift, technically as payment and in advance, by Sigourney Weaver's Colonel Ward character for this bounty where she's sending him to find the Lord Janu, Wayne Coyne character. The way she explains it is in the first 18 minutes of the movie after he comes back after killing that other warlord and says that this is way more than you were owed for the previous bounty, but this is an advance on the next one, hoping that things go well in the future and that you continue to help us with this. And they bought it after somebody who junked a whole bunch of parts from other Razor Crest models to recreate a Razor Crest that looks relatively brand new. It's new as old. Technically, it's old parts, but made to look as if it were new right off the line. So this is why there's no real battle damage on it, why it looks so shiny and clean.
Ta-da! The goat is back.
So it's not like they were keeping around the pieces of the slag of his former Razor Crest that Moff Gideon melted. They just got a bunch of other pieces of Razor Crests and then combined that to make a new one. We get a little bit of new dialogue from Colonel Ward's character talking to him about protecting Grogu, basically what's going to happen when he's not around because he's going to outlive him by many hundreds of years. He also had dialogue about that in the previous trailer too, where he said he's going to live way past me, basically. My assumption, just based on the pace of this movie, like it's such a quick movie, like there's so much stuff going on, is they're just going to set up the idea of Grogu slowly coming into his own, learning more about actually surviving on his own. But he's still a tiny little baby, so of course he's not going to be able to survive all by himself. But we do see him doing way more action scenes that we've seen in previous Mandalorian episodes. They use a couple different versions of Grogu to film scenes. There is a CG version that they use for very complicated stuff, but most of the time they use various Grogu puppets to actually operate him, so it's a little bit like the Muppets. Star Wars has a grand history of puppetry. That's basically how they did all the classic trilogy movies too, because at the time they didn't have the types of special effects that they have in more modern movies. Jon Favreau did say that there was also a lot of puppetry in a lot of miniatures that they used to film this too, and they used the volume way less, like they were more practical shots than they had done during the actual Mandalorian series. So if you're not a fan of the way the volume sort of made everything look kind of fake on a certain level, especially during Ahsoka, like it really hurt Ahsoka, it kind of sounds like Star Wars in general has pulled back on the use of the volume. We get a much longer scene of Mando teaming up with Grogu to attack the big droids that are protecting the Hutt twins here. You also notice that Grogu doesn't just use the Force to work on them, but he also crawls inside the robot to pull some of the wires. We actually saw him doing stuff like this during the Mandalorian series, with him going into the ducts of the Razor Crest trying to help Mando repair it while it was damaged, and later when they created the IG-11 mech for him. It's not totally clear who this wise person is that's talking to Grogu, asking him if he's scared. You should be. It's meant to be very Empire Strikes Back, Yoda, Luke Skywalker coded, like, you will be scared. Then it kind of seems like Mando and Grogu are riding on an STAP here, firing at all these other people here in the background. There are a lot of scenes of him on this forested, swamp-like planet, so it's not clear if there's a couple different planets that he's on, or if it's just that one planet where he goes, and it seems like he's meditating, learning more about the Force. My assumption is just meant to be Luke Skywalker, Empire Strikes Back, Yoda training on Dagobah coded. Force-sensitive creature goes to a swamp planet to deepen his connection with the Force. Mark Hamill actually spoke very highly of Dave Filoni recently. Like he said he's really happy with the direction that it looks like Star Wars is going the next 10 plus years. Most of the new projects that are going to be pure Dave Filoni creative going forward, you won't really see till like after the next couple of years though. But one of the other Dave Filoni projects that will be hitting screens relatively soon, like maybe later this year, or maybe they'll push it to next year, is Ahsoka Season 2. Whole lot of Anakin Skywalker coming back. I'll do separate videos about that when they release footage, because they have not announced when they're going to actually release episodes. Please, Star Wars, tell us, when are we going to get those episodes? Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and if you spotted any Easter eggs or references in the new footage that I didn't talk about in the video or my previous trailer videos, just write it below in the comments. There were many other big CinemaCon trailers that they released the past couple of days. I'm trying to work through all the big ones, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. I just did a big Avengers Doomsday CinemaCon trailer. Click here for that, and click here for all those other videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.